I think you're on mute.
Si quieres escuchar el diálogo en
Thank
español,
you.
haz
Hello,
clic en el
everyone.
globo.
Thank you for joining us today. We begin with an acknowledgement of the land. I am based in Canada, and from coast to coast to coast, Canadians recognize that we are on traditional territories of diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We seek to live in respect, peace, and right relations, and are mindful of broken covenants. By making a land acknowledgement, we are taking part in an act of reconciliation, honoring the land and Indigenous heritage, which dates back over 10,000 years. I welcome you again to today's training call. Please take a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat. Say your name, where you're from, your faith, and perhaps what land you're on. Please feel free to introduce yourselves.
Yeah. So we have Lisa from Texas, USA. You're welcome. We have Susan from North in UK, Catholic. You're welcome. We have Jane from New Jersey. You're welcome. And we have, it's going so fast. We have Carol
We have
from Canada. You're welcome. Over to you, Michelle.
Yeah, we have Ari from the Netherlands and Eglise from Switzerland, Satya from Glasgow. Thank you all. Please continue sharing. We've got Linda in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Carla in Costa Rica. Please continue sharing where you're from in the chat. And I'm also curious to know who has joined a previous call. Perhaps you can raise your hand or put in the chat, yes, you've been here before. We want to take a moment just to acknowledge all of you for coming back to our sessions and to once again welcome everyone who is new.
Thank you, Michelle. I want to make sure our interpretation works. Martin just raised his hand. Can you hear us? Does it work? Okay, excellent. Nettie, does the Spanish translation work? Yes? Wonderful, great, thank you. Our colleague Marin is having a bit of internet problems in Nairobi, and she asked me to take over, so she will take over the chat and I will be your co-facilitator together with Michelle. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now we will move to a spiritual moment with our friend and colleague Pinaki.
Namaste to everyone, and thank you, Michelle, for offering me this sacred space for sharing the spiritual moment. I am very glad to share one of the dohas of Kabir ji. Kabir Das was a 15th century poet with multi-faith upbringing. So I am offering this poem. Of course, this poem is very long, so I'm offering only the first and the last paragraph, and I also share the English version of it. So please allow me to share that. It goes like this. मोको कहाँ ढूंढे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास में, ना तीरथ में, ना मूरत में, ना एकांत निवास में, ना मंदिर में, ना मस्जिद में, ना काबे कैलाश में, खोजी है तीरथ मिल जाऊं एक पल के ही तलाश में, कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधो, मैं तो हूँ विश्वास में. What does Kabir says? says, "Hey, oh follower, where do you search me? I am always with you, not in any pilgrimage, not in any statues, neither in solitude, nor in temples, nor in mosque, neither in the Kaaba, nor in the Kailash. I am with you, O follower." And the last one goes, "Neither in the womb of nature, not in the breath of the breath. Seek earnestly and you will discover me, but in a moment of search." And Kabirji says, "Listen to me carefully. Where your faith is, I am there with you." Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Pinaki, for grounding us at the beginning of this call, and many greetings to New Delhi in India. Friends, the Green Faith International Network is a multi-faith global network with founding partners in 14 countries. We aim to accelerate the growth and influence of the religious environmental movement to tackle the climate emergency together. With 84% of the world's people identifying with one of the spiritual traditions, our potential influence is enormous. Plus, our spiritual traditions provide the ethical compass that humanity so badly needs. Values of caring for the most vulnerable, responsibility towards future generations, and that life is sacred, but is also at risk. On March 11, we together will host a global day of climate action called Sacred People, Sacred Earth. Until today, already 180 groups and events have signed up, and we very much hope that by the end of this call, you will have your event signed on our world map as well. We are only 4 weeks away from March 11, so today we'll be talking about what we have planned for the day of action, what we are all thinking of doing, and what we all can do to prepare for that well. But first, let's give you all a short overview and recap, and especially for those who are new, let's give you an introduction to what the plans are. Over to Michelle.
Thank you, Carolina. So why are we doing this? For 100% renewable energy, for an end to fossil fuel infrastructure, for global finance that's aligned with compassionate values, for justice for all living beings. This day, March 11th, is an activation of our shared moral power, putting unjust government powers and companies on notice that we're no longer going to stand idly by while our planet and people's lives are destroyed. We are determined to make our voices heard. It's important to be specific about what your action is calling for, because being specific is what makes your action newsworthy. In the chat, you'll find a link for resources and our full statement. Acting on our 10 demands, grassroots faith activists are ringing bells, sounding gongs and chimes, blowing shofars and conch shells, and using our voices to call for climate justice. Following COVID-safe guidelines, we are gathering in small, physically distanced groups or from our homes to activate our shared moral power for climate justice.
Yeah, so what are the plans for March 11? On that day, in places of prayer and in households around the globe, grassroots people of diverse religious and spiritual backgrounds, just like you all, are joining together to call for climate leadership guided by compassion, love, and justice. With global media partners, we aim to reach millions of people, including regional and national leaders through social and print media, and in our messages to our religious communities. The main thing we're looking for in our action is to make them visible in the media and online and for your neighbors.
Who are the people involved? The people we're most interested in are those in your faith community. Who can you ask to get involved? It doesn't need to be everyone, just enough to have an impact if your action is public in some way. For added impact, you might also choose in some cases to identify a national or local target for your action who has the power to affect change on the issue. This could be your city's mayor, a national government, a bank, or any other specific person or institution.
And when is it happening? We already said March 11, 2021. And if you hold an action at your place or prayer in a public space, we recommend you do it at 11 a.m. in your time zone, in your own time zone. This allows time for local media to cover what you're doing in time for their news cycle. And we have prepared a communications toolkit for you to publicize your action and to write your press release for local media. More information about this in our special media workshop later in this call.
Now we're going to hear from some grassroots organizers about work they are doing in their communities. We will begin with Pinaki, who is based in Delhi.
Thank you, Michelle, for again, and I hope this time it's a bit clear, or is it still echoing?
Not really, but it's a little bit better.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm sorry my mic is not in a good mood now, but so what we are trying to do on the 11th is to gather in a multi-faith community, and also demand the 10 things which Green Faith International has drawn to the government and also to the local authorities, which is very important. For example, doing away with the fossil fuel investment away from the religious thing, and also in terms of showing more compassion and more demanding more justice to all the communities, to all people there. So this is what we plan to do in India with our multi-faith partners in Delhi, at least in the morning hours of the 11th.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Pinaki. I think one of the things that's inspiring about what you shared is that your initiative is an interfaith movement. I know people around the world are working within their own communities, and there is also an opportunity to work across faith communities and create multi-faith and interfaith action.
Yeah, and in fact, many of you have already thought about campaigns that are in your region and that affect your community and or that happen multi-faith and interfaith. And you've heard now of one event and what other people are doing in their areas. We are asking, what do you want to do for your action? This could be a larger event you want to organize, or it could be an individual action that you'll take with yourself or with your family. And I want to share one more example. In Australia, our founding member ARC is calling for higher emission reduction targets to be submitted under the Paris Agreement, in line with a net zero target by 2030. Instead of a gas-led recovery, they want post-COVID recovery spending to be on low carbon jobs, and for finance to be provided to the UN Green Climate Fund for developing countries. Our partners in Australia are asking their local groups to support these asks in their action, just to give one example. And we have some colleagues here from Australia who can share more about that in their workshop.
Now, we're curious about what you're doing. What are your plans for March 11th? Please take a brief moment to share in the chat. I see that Wendy is saying they're doing the same in Olympia, Washington, similar to what Pinaki is doing in Delhi. Let's see. Lisa is doing virtual advocacy on climate justice. What else do we have here? We're inviting you to share what action you have decided to take in your community and with your faith groups in your area.
There's this, if you write in the chat. We would even have a moment for someone to share in orally, if you like to raise your hand and speak about it. Reverend Barry is sharing a virtual multi-faith prayers and poetry regarding earthkeeping. Amy from the US shares a few congregations in Charlotte are considering actions to ring bells and to pray. Susan shares, I have asked the vicar of our local village to ring the church bell on the 11th of March. I'm writing an article in Parish Magazine to explain. We are still in lockdown, so we cannot gather. Very important, and we will later on speak about how you can do close to home events and some ideas to COVID-friendly events on that day. Over to you, Michelle.
Okay. Actually, I think this is your piece here.
Yeah, I just want to read out a few more actually, because now they are coming. In Geneva, Niels Fildius is sharing that they will fast 5 days together, including 11th of March. In Costa Rica, the International Festival of Eco-Spiritualities is holding an evening celebration on Zoom. The Latin American Biblical University is preparing a liturgy to share online. Wonderful.
Reverend Barry writes that they are presenting a letter to the Gates Foundation, requesting them to reconsider their stance on industrial farming and GMO seeds. Kent writes from Alexandria, Virginia. His church, Old Presbyterian Meeting House, is part of the Multiple Presbyterian USA and Multi-Faith Climate Networks. Also in Charlotte, they're working on an interfaith group to pressure Duke to lower their level of fossil fuel development. Carol writes that they are raising their voices with song and chants with presentation on community-based earth action. Kent is also giving a talk about divestment and how to do it without loss of dollars. Philippa writes, Maria writes, in London, Brahma Kumaris UK are holding an online meditation in collaboration with Faith for Climate. In Geneva, they will also ring the church bells at 11 p.m. In the US, US groups are urging President Biden to stop Line 3 pipeline.
This is all wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's exciting to see how all over the world events are taking shape and are being prepared. It's really inspiring, and I have a feeling that we're truly off to something big and unique here. And we have come together today to help you prepare even better and to dig deeper into some of the organizing for this day and for your own event. People who speak English and understand English will have the possibility to choose between 3 different workshops now in our workshop time. There is a general workshop for newcomers that will cover the questions, what makes a good local action, how to work with media, and how do we communicate our faith and moral demands. And we'll also give space for questions regarding the day of action. Then there's a workshop focusing on how to work with the media, and that's led by Rose, our communications expert from Green Faith International. She's located in the US. Hi, Rose. And then we have another workshop, number 2, how to communicate our faith and moral demands, how to put our faith into action and how to speak about that. And that will be led by our dear colleague, Philippa Rowland, who is in Australia, late night there. Great. So I'm just repeating once more. Workshop 1, how to work with media. Workshop 2, how to communicate our faith and moral demands. And if you stay here in the main room, this is the space for newcomers and for everyone who wants to have an overview over all these topics, including what makes a good local action. And this session will be interpreted into Spanish and French. There is a chance to self-select your workshop now. And these workshops will not be recorded, so that stays in your group. And you will have in total 30 minutes in your workshop group led by your facilitator. Our colleague Bad will now open the workshop channels and you can self-select which ones you want to be on. If you want to stay in the multilingual newcomer session, don't do anything, just stay here. If you want to pick a specific one, please pick how to work with media or how to communicate our faith and moral demands. Okay, clear to everyone? And yes, you can also name it in the chat and we will assign you. This will take a few minutes to get everyone in the right room, like in a real conference. And we wish you a great time together and see you in 30 minutes where we will report back and hear about that. Okay, off we go. Enjoy your workshop. Okay, this will take a moment. Please, everyone, if you can see the pop-up window and see the choices. What makes a good local action, how to work with the media, and 3. Okay, actually the numbers have changed now. I'm sorry for that. Okay, you don't see a pop-up, then we will select you. Everyone in this team who's a co-host, can you help sorting people in? Okay, okay, who can help? Okay, so the groups are coming together. But if you continue helping with the assignment of people, and we will start here in the main session with our general and newcomers session in 3 languages, okay? Good, let me share my slide. Okay, I hope you can all see the slide on your screen. Can you give a thumbs up if that's correct? Yes, wonderful. Great to have you all. And I hope our interpreters are ready to go. Yes, they are. Super. So welcome everyone in this main workshop. We would like to train our organizing muscles in this workshop and will therefore talk about some key skills. I would like to know from you, what are you most interested in among the 3 things that we want to cover? What makes a good action? How to work with media? How to communicate our faith and moral demands? Can I see in the chat which one interests you most? You can either pick a number 1, 2, 3, or just mention the keyword. Let me see if I can find you in the chat. So what are you most interested in?
Number 3.
The 3. Okay, how to communicate our faith? What makes a good action? Faith, moral demands. Ah, interesting. Okay, anyone else who has a strong preference? Work with media, 333. What makes good action? Okay, it seems like we are quite distributed in our interest. Let's try to cover the 3 areas. And if you find one particularly interesting, just keep on talking, okay? So, I want me to sort this out a bit, sorry, so that I can see my own screen. So what makes a good action? Why is March 11 different from a regular community meeting or worship service that you have? Right, it's public. And that's why the primary aim for it to be is that it's visible. We know that this can be a little bit tricky to achieve if you have severe COVID restrictions where you are. And I would therefore like to ask who among you is living in lockdown at the moment and cannot do an action with many people outside together. Can you share in the chat the country that you live in and if that's affected? In the US, okay, yeah. There's still lockdown. Switzerland. I am based in Germany. We have a strict lockdown as well. People are not allowed together. In lockdown until after mid-March. Ari, where are you located? Okay, we have some people in Germany, Kenya, who are in lockdown. Ari, where are you?
It's Ari here. I'm located in the Netherlands. And we have general elections in mid-March, and I'm sure that that goes with election activities, etc. That will be having a continuation of the current situation until after the 17th of March.
Oh wow, okay. So it's evident that some of us have to work with planning and action in these extraordinary times. Still, we would like to share with you what makes a good action and be creative about how we can translate that in these times. So what's important about doing a multi-faith climate action together? To say we are here. Estamos aquí, nous sommes là. It is about visibility. We need to show people that we're there, and we need to make this public and find a way that is either surprising or that is bold or that is new or that gives a new mix to really show that we are here and what we do. Number 2 is we are people of faith. And I will quickly need to find my notes, sorry. We are people of faith. And that means don't hide that you are a faith community. Make your action clearly faith-based. It's very important that, or it's a chance that we make this different from another climate demonstration, but that we actually have a chance to share why we are doing this. And we'll talk about the narratives in a moment. We can show that we are people of faith. And when we talk about visibility, that sometimes means, for example, that you wear a religion or that you use a religious symbol from your tradition, or if you're a clergy, that you wear your religious gown. That is actually making a big difference for people to join and to watch and to be curious about. Also, we are responsible in our actions. What is very important in this time is that we make it in a COVID-safe way, that we plan an action that does not risk someone's health or someone's life even. So we need to make sure that the actions we are planning are well in line with the regulations. And although this is hurting, and I know that in the UK, colleagues told me that they cannot even ring a bell because it requires 2 people, or that others would really like to do a demonstration outside of Parliament, but it's not allowed to meet. So let's not risk the health and the well-being of our fellow brothers and sisters, but let's be responsible in our actions. And then show that we are many. Somos muchos. No somos nombreux. It's important that we involve our faith community or a group of people rather than just being an individual. You can, of course, do something as an individual. That's totally fine. But it has more impact if we illustrate that we are many. And that can either be on the spot, bringing different people together, or virtually, but it can also be to connect the different people across these local events. And we want to make sure that we feature the different things happening all over the globe on that day to really not only give the impression, but know that we are many. And then we have an ask to decision makers. We want you to fix this. Target a political decision maker or in a financial institution or the economy that is responsible, or the business that is responsible for some of the biggest climate threats. It's important that you have a clear ask and that you target someone or something specific in your action to make it impactful. This is a first overview over what makes a good action, and I'd like to invite your feedback and questions. You can simply unmute yourself, start the conversation. I'm not able to read the chat right now, but Michelle, could you maybe help me and read the chat to see if some questions pop up? Thank you.
So please feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question or put it in the chat.
Could you just review why March 11th was chosen?
Yeah, sure. That's a good point. March 11 is a Thursday, so it is not a special religious day of the week for any of the groups that we're connecting with. And it's not a religious holiday in the year. It's also not linked to a political event. We wanted this to be kind of neutral and allow everyone to participate in their own way. We know that there's, of course, some national and regional contexts. I know that in India, you have the end of the fiscal year and you all need to be in your office, so you cannot do an action throughout the day. I also know that it's many people will remember the 10th anniversary of Fukushima. We are not related to that directly, although if that is something that you're remembering that day, you can surely make the connection. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I also would like to add that we are having March 11 as a starting point and want then to have other actions around the year and other activities together as an international network as we embark this year towards COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland. That is a very crucial climate negotiation. Okay, seeing no other question, I would then propose we move on and talk about close to home events, some ideas, and here I really count on your creativity as well. On March 11, it's vital that we make our events as public and as visible as possible, and that we are sure to take pictures and post them to social media. This is how we most effectively raise awareness and make an impact. But due to COVID, some of us need ways to show our moral power to the world while staying closer to home. So here are some ideas and examples to help you get started.
Okay.
Turn your window into a microphone. Richard?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Richard Schwartz. I'm from Israel. I'm president emeritus of Jewish Bed. So one of the things we're trying to get in the agenda, the importance of shifts toward plant-based diets. And I've recently had a book published. It's called Vegan Revolution, Saving Our World, Revitalizing Judaism, trying to get it to as many people as possible. So if anybody would like to get a copy, just email me at veggierich@gmail.com. That's VEGGIE.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard, and congrats on your book. Would you mind sharing the link in the chat as well so people can find it, or your email so people can order a book?
Oh, okay. I just gave my email again, VEGGIERICH, one word, veggierich@gmail.com. And what I'm thinking of for that March 11th, I was trying to get as many rabbis and all involved. I'm going to try to start a campaign at that very time. All our members and Jewish Beds, and as many people I can get as possible, should send an email to a rabbi, Jewish teacher, other influential Jew, urging them to get climate change onto their agenda and to point out that this is as we all know, most critical issue, and everything possible has to be done to avert it. So very happy this group was involved, and I wish much success.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Richard. And it's so good to know that many rabbis will do this together and that you're calling them to do the petition together. Thank you for sharing. Let's talk about it. Before we hear a few other examples, let me just give you the few ideas on close to home events, if that's okay. So we have that idea, you could turn your video into a microphone. If you can't go outside due to a lockdown, you could use your window to call for climate action, just like thousands of people did to show appreciation for frontline workers at the beginning of this pandemic. We recommend singing an adapted hymn or song, or ringing your meditation bell or chime, sounding a note on a conch shell or a shofar. And make sure that you capture this on video and post it to social media so that others will know about it as well and know that you're part of this action. You could also turn your front doorstep into a place of prayer or into a place of advocacy. Another powerful way to show your commitment is to make a sign, a poster, a placard, which I will show in a moment, where you could list one of the 10 demands that are most meaningful to your context and hold the sign on your doorstep. You could also offer a prayer there. Make sure to use your sign and that it also tells where you are and the hashtag #FaithfulClimate. You can take a picture and share this broadly on social media. And I will show you in a moment how this poster looks like if you want to use that. One more idea, you could integrate your public action into a Zoom call. If you decide to have a Zoom call instead of a physical meeting, it is vital that you also include a public dimension into the call. In one of the ways described above, you could organize a call during which participants all write letters to a key figure with the power to act on your climate demand, and then address your letters together. Or you can write an email to your key decision maker and hit send at the same time. Or you could call your local government. We know of some people who also have a climate friendly meal together, a vegetarian meal, or who would draft their petition during that call. So integrate your public action into a Zoom call. That's an idea. We will share the link at the end of this call again to a note where you can find all these details. Is this helpful for some of you living in lockdown? In the UK, US, Israel, Germany, Netherlands, Kenya?
Yes, good ideas.
Would anyone else like to share another idea that you have for doing an action? Niels, I'm calling on you in Geneva. Great place. I've lived there for some time, and you shared earlier that you're planning something special on that day. Do you want to share with us what your plans are?
Oui, c'est possible en français?
Oui. Donc je vais traduire en anglais après. C'est bon. Attends, je peux le faire. C'est bon. So I will. He will speak in French, and I will translate into English. I'll do my best.
Donc à Genève, nous allons organiser une semaine de jeûne incluant le 11 mars. Donc,
so in Geneva, we're going to organize 1 week with young people, and it will culminate on March 11.
Fasting. En français, jeûne et jeûne, il y a deux significations. Jeûne.
C'est vrai. Oh là là. So actually, it's not a week with young people, with youth, but it's a week of fasting, and jeûne is jeûner. It's almost the same word. I'm very sorry. Like, I'm not a good translator if I'm messing up the first moment. Martin, you want to take over? You will have to leave your cabin. Okay. Is it possible? Okay, Martin will translate. I messed it up. Go ahead, Niels.
Ok, donc nous allons jeûner durant 5 jours avec beaucoup de personnes, et ça va inclure la journée du 5 mars. Nous allons nous retrouver par Zoom pour accompagner le jeûne, et le 11 mars, pardon, nous allons faire une soirée spéciale avec les jeûneurs, mais plus largement avec d'autres personnes aussi qui veulent nous rejoindre pour parler du 11 mars en fait.
Martin, we cannot hear you, unfortunately. Okay. In that case, I'll try my best again. So Niels was saying that they have 1 week of fasting together, and that they will end this on March 11, and there are different moments in that week with special events. And I'm sorry if that is a shortcut. Martin, maybe you can write in the chat the English version later on. Let's hear of more examples, and as we do that, I want to move us into how you can design your action. So we heard a few examples already. These are 5 steps. Oh, yeah, you see the French already. How can you design a good action? Number 1, 5 steps. It's quite easy. 5 steps. Choose the demand you want to take action on. Among the 10 demands we're sharing, choose one that you want to take action on and that you can relate to. Number 2, choose your target. Who is your target? Is there a decision maker that has power to make a decision on the issue or demand you care about? For example, you may want to target a local legislator or politician, or a CEO of a polluting company, or maybe the target is the public and you will do public education or visibility in the community or with your friends and family. So who are you aiming at? And then choose your action. What action is most likely to influence the target that you just decided on? If you want to influence a legislator, will you do a socially distant action at their office or in a place that you know they frequent? Or maybe your action is organizing a letter writing campaign to get the target to make the decision you want them to make. If your target is the public, make sure your message gets out as far and wide as possible. Then choose your place, time, and share it. That's pretty obvious. And we invite you to not only do that with your own community, but also register on the website, the Sacred People, Sacred Earth website. Register your event so people can find it and or can log in and know about this event. And that's the step number 5. Once you have chosen place, time, and shared it, you can register your event on the world map. We'll share the form for that later on in the call. So these 5 easy steps, I hope it's straightforward. Is it helpful? Yeah? You can show by hand if you find this is helpful. Let's see. Yes, I see some hands. That's wonderful. Thank you. I want to make sure we also talk about how to talk to the media, a few tips that might be helpful. And we're sharing more information with you afterwards. So what's very important is that you be prepared. Have a short synopsis of your mission and goal in a few short sentences that encapsulate what you're doing and why. Keep these talking points on hand during interviews for reference. It's very important to be consistent, so keep the script as much as possible.
Carolyn, I have a suggestion I'd like to make. Okay. I'm wondering about the possibility of Green Faith putting together, you probably have it already, a statement on climate change and how important it is to act on it, and get as many as possible ministers, priests, imams, rabbis to sign that and have that distributed on March 11th through various social media. If there's money available, ads in some papers, for example. And I think that might have a very powerful impact.
Yes, that's right. That's right on spot. And we have that statement. It's called Sacred People, Sacred Earth. I'm very happy to share it with you. Maybe Michelle, could you share it in the chat? And I will just share my screen so you can, because we did not talk about the 10 demands now. Some people have heard it often already, and for some it's new. So from our statements, we have these 10 demands. And the statement is open for signature by everyone, a person of faith and spirit. And we also invited religious leaders to sign the statement. And in the coming weeks, you will hear who has already signed this statement. There's some very prominent leaders among them. So I'm just kind of showing this to you once, so you can, you will recognize it once we're getting back there. But yeah, indeed, that's very important to raise our voices together. And it was developed by the 14 international founding members. Yeah, thank you, Richard, for that point. I will share my screen again, and I hope that works. Yes, just going back to a few media tips before we go back to the main session. What can be also important is to ask questions and research your journalists and the publicators. So it's normally it's important to try to find out who is actually writing about climate change and what could they be interested in. So do some research work in advance. And the last point, very important, be clear, concise, and confident. That's very important, actually. Sometimes we feel, oh, we are not climate experts, we're no politicians, we may not be able to speak in detail about this and that, but you are the community's voice about this topic and event. You don't need to be the expert, but you are the voice of your community, and you are the voice of your faith community, and no one else can say it in the way that you say it. So be very confident about how you do that and get prepared. If you ask a question that you don't know how to answer, simply direct the interviewer to someone who's qualified to answer in your group. Speak slowly and clearly, surely something that I'm not good at, especially if you're being interviewed by a radio station. I always talk too fast on media. And then practice, practice, practice. It's really important that you know these lines by heart, why you are doing this, how your faith is calling you for climate action, and what your message is to decision makers. Is this helpful?
Yep.
Wonderful. I'm afraid we almost run out of time, but I want to also go into that last section, how to communicate and connect our faith and moral demands. What is important when we talk about why we engage for climate justice and climate action? Talk about the why. Know your why. Why are you doing that? And if you take 15 seconds, why are you doing that? Close your eyes, think about that. And if you like to, please share it in the chat. Why are you doing that?
Well, if you want a decent world for future generations.
Can you write it in the chat? That would be great. So we just hear from different voices. And Michelle, if you could read it out, thank you.
Cheryl writes, for reality to alleviate suffering. Daniela, for our collective compassion in action. Caroline, maybe you can stop sharing your screen now.
Yes.
Leona, for healthy people and world. Karis, for the children and all life now and to come. Richard, to leave a decent world for future generations. Gert, the situation is alarming and calls for change. Pinaki, for a better, happier present and future. Kip, because God has called me to be a steward of creation. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for participating in the breakout rooms. We're just taking a moment to invite you to share in the chat why you are participating in this work. We also want to take a moment to invite the facilitators from each workshop to share briefly about the outcomes in their workshop. And just before I hand that over, I will say Maria has added to help build the momentum and contribute towards the COP. So each workshop facilitator, would you like to pick up participants or to share briefly? Marianne wrote to respond to Pope Francis's challenge in Laudato Si to hear the cry of earth and the cry of the poor.
I would share, because I said I would, from our group, and some of the things, the highlights was some of us don't know exactly what we're doing and some of us know what we're doing, but primarily what we are as a group, which is different than Sierra Club, is we have ceremony. And we have, and so that's one of the things that we thought about. And we can also be creative with art, costumes. One person had talked about a ceremony across a bridge, collect water and prayers and all of that. So think faith. And then the other thing we talked about was something that Green Faith could do is if we do this every month on the 11th, we could build momentum, and that Green Faith could teach us how to live stream, and Green Faith could create a video on the demand so that we could share it so we're all on the same page. Every month we highlight something. So that felt like some of the richness of what we talked about.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Those are all great suggestions.
Michelle,
Anyone
I'd like
else?
to invite Nicole from our group to share. Thank you.
Me?
I think so.
Okay, I'm
Carla,
sorry.
maybe in that group? Yeah, sorry.
Our group talked about local actions. There was a variety of questions about how to work in the limits based on COVID. So there was some clarity, people knowing what they were going to do, and others not being very clear. But a real general concern to, get beyond holding conferences, to really try to figure out how to get people, especially the people in communities that are being seriously affected by climate change, involved in actions. I think that's the general sense of our group.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla. And the third group?
I think there was no third group, but we had the main session.
Oh, the main
Newcomers.
session, sorry, yes.
Yes, would someone like to share a bit what your highlights were? Anyone, just give us a short one thing that was that you learned. Richard, you want to go? You will have to unmute yourself. Still on mute. Sorry for that.
Okay, yeah, Carolyn gave the 5 steps and all, and many ideas, and it's wonderful. People from all over the world are so involved in this, and hopefully it will be a great, great success.
Thank you, Richard. And in our overview session, we shared a lot of different resources and ideas and steps, and we're happy to share this with all of you by email afterwards. And we will also offer another training on March 3 for those of you who would like some recap. Thank you very much. So thank you everyone for sharing your plans, sharing your ideas and your creativity. we would like to once more show you directly on the screen on how you can get involved and make it a Sacred People, Sacred Earth action. For each step, you will find the link in this document that is shared in the chat again. So this is our all links in one place document. And I would like to share my screen quickly and just share with you what we got there on our website, just so that you have seen it once. So the Green Faith website, or you can just type Sacred People, sacredearth.org, has this beautiful start. You go to action and you will find right at the start the invite to joining the Sacred People, Sacred Earth Day of Climate Action. And you can click here if you want more details on how to plan an action. You can register your event here and put it on the world map, and you can join the next preparatory call, the one that is today, and we'll have another one on March 3. You can also find here the 10 demands and our statement. And if you go down here, Sacred People, Sacred Earth, it will lead you directly to a form where you can register yourself in the action. You can sign the statement. The full statement is like 4 pages. It's translated in 14 languages. So take a moment to really read it and to share it with faith leaders and your community. And if you are representing an organization, a community, or an institution or a network, we invite you to become a co-sponsor or a partner of this special day. And you can register here and send us a message that you would like to support this special day with your organization's name. There's no financial commitment or nothing, but it is about your commitment to organize an action and to share the information. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. It is a true gift to be in this world with each of you, people of like heart and mind, envisioning and creating a world that is compassionate and loving and just. We're all in this together. And now I will just close this meeting with a moment of prayer. Let's take this moment to appreciate this community and the journey we're about to embark on together. Our solidarity crosses many countries and oceans, many faith traditions. Our solidarity is sacred and enriching. In just a moment, we're going to ask you to come off mute so we can all say goodbye to each other in whatever manner we usually say goodbye in our diverse languages and traditions. Friends, peace, paz, shalom, salam, shanti, namaste, ashe. Please unmute yourself and say goodbye.
Okay.
Peace be with you.
Tot ziens.
Bye.
Bye.
Safe.
Bye. Thanks, Marie.
Goodbye. Blessings to you all.
Thank you. Sending love.
Thank you.
Be Christ always.
Oh.
Thank you. Bye.